Kelly, and this is Kelly Hill Yoga, 30 Days of Yoga, day 24. We're here in the final stretch, the last week, and today we're going to focus on the hamstrings and a little bit of the low back. And both of these things are very interconnected, not necessarily on like a skeletal level, but when we have either weak or elongated hamstrings, sometimes that can cause the pelvis to tilt forward in this anterior position, and that creates everything in the low back that kind of like crunches together. So when we strengthen our hamstrings by stretching and doing dynamic movements, it can kind of help shift that pelvis back into a natural state and really release that low back. So when you're ready, come to lay down on your mat. Let's just extend both legs out in front of us as we set up and start in this nice supine position. Gently relax yourself, release anything that might be pulling you out of the room, any thoughts of what I need to do, what I should be doing. Release that, cut it off, and turn inwards with your natural breath. Just, if you had to tell yourself that little inner monologue to inhale and exhale in order to find that internal focus, then do so. Gently bringing ourselves to this area of self-love so we can really focus on building our practice mentally and physically. 30 days is all about you, for you. Knowing that the time on the mat is for your own mental health. Let's bring both soles of the feet to the mat. Open the eyes if you had them closed. And then we're just going to let both knees fall side to side. That windshield wiper that we've done in previous practices, just kind of waking up the hips and low back. And then lift the right heel up to heaven as you choose to grab either the back of the thigh, calf, or ankle, wherever you want to be today for this hamstring stretch on the right side. Just jumping right into it, right? Waking things up. If you want, you may extend that left leg to kind of deepen this stretch, but it's totally okay if you want to keep the sole of that left foot on the ground. Neither way is better than the other. Keeping a nice bend in this right leg, not straining or overstretching. Let's find that edge and then just exhale off it a little bit. Point and flex your foot. If this is your first movement of the day, sometimes this can just be, things feel really tight. Let's awaken things, awaken that nervous system by doing more than one thing. Multitasking. Roll the ankle, point and flex, just whatever you need to do on this right side. Nice bend in that right leg. Grab the outside of the right foot and bring that right elbow to the inside of your knee. And then we're going to do the single leg happy baby. So if your left leg is extended, you may bring that sole back to the mat, but you can also stay with that leg extended, really getting a nice stretch for this single leg happy baby. Just waking up the hamstrings. Gently bring that right foot down to the earth. Let's take it to the other side. So heel the left foot up to heaven. Grab the back of the thigh, calf, or ankle, just wherever you want to play with today in the depth of this stretch. If it's nice and early, your muscles might be nice and cold. Really grounded down through that left hip, not shifting or pulling anything up. Staying nice and grounded in that left hip. You may extend the right leg. That's in your practice today. If not, that's totally okay. Just really waking up this left hamstring, feeling it all on the back side of that left leg, in the hip. If your right leg's extended, you'll feel it in the front side of that right hip. And then let's point and flex the left foot. Roll the ankle, just doing any little bits of movement you might want to do to waken things up. And then transition, bend that left knee, transition to that single leg happy baby. So left elbow will be on the inside of the left knee. If your right leg is extended, you can bring the sole of the foot back to the ground. But if you want to keep that nice stretch or deepen this, you can have that right leg extended. Just playing around, and in any pose, it's so important that if one thing feels better than the other, do it. It's not about forcing ourselves to do anything that doesn't feel right. Every single human body is different. It's the one beautiful thing, or one of the beautiful things about yoga, is you can really make it your own practice. Gently release that left foot back to the earth. Grab the back of the thighs, and let's just roll up and do a couple of rounds of cat-cow. So inhale, drop the belly, lift the chin. So we're in this tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Exhale, tuck the chin, lift the spine up to the earth. Just rolling through a few rounds on our own. Stretch from side to side if you like. Just a couple of rounds. Waking up the spine. Awesome. Bring that spine back to neutral. So crown of the head lifted towards the front of the room, or pulled towards the front of the room. Tailbone pulled towards the back. Extend your right leg for this calf stretch on the right leg. So you're going to really push or pull that right heel towards the back of your room, waking up the back of that right leg. So just staying nice and high on the toes, pulling that right heel to the back of the room. Gently release, and then take it to the other side. So extend that left leg, toes on the ground, pull that left heel to the back of the room, get a nice stretch in the calf and back of the left leg. If you have to shift your hips back a little bit to find depth in this, it's totally okay. Awesome. Gently bring that left knee back to meet the right. Tuck both toes, downward dog. And then in this downward dog, let's just make sure we're nice and grounded. Fingers spread well, grounded through the thumb and index finger. Not holding any tension in our neck. Let's take a nice generous bend in the left knee as we work on straightening that right. Just wake up the hamstrings, whole back side of that right leg. And switch sides, so nice big bend in that right knee, straightening or trying to straighten the left. Not jerking anything, staying nice and strong and stable. Awesome, back to that neutral downward dog. Generous bend in the knees. Take the gaze forward and just do a couple of steps to the top of our mats. Forward fold. And let's take a really deep bend in the knees, almost so your chest and belly is resting on your thighs. And let's grab the back of the thighs in this sort of bind here. So trying to grab opposite elbows if you can. If you want to just have your arms hang down, that's totally okay. But we have this nice little bind, generous bend in the knees. And then if you want, just kind of try and push those hips up towards the sky to get a little bit of a deeper stretch in those hamstrings. Like I said, if this is too much, your arms can totally hang down. And then let's release the arms, plant the hands, and then work on shifting those hips up to the sky. Still a little micro bend in the knees. And now let's just let gravity do the work. So arms out in front of us, grabbing both elbows, letting gravity do the work as we straighten the legs a little bit more. So we start out with this nice generous bend, and we're kind of just gradually trying to get to a straighter leg, not straight, straighter. So always keep a nice little micro bend in the knees. And we're just letting gravity do the work here, really feeling it as our hips and tailbone reach towards the sky. Really feeling it in the hamstrings. Awesome. Release those elbows, generous bend in the knees, ground, and slowly rise up. Arms up and overhead, making sure you rise nice and slow so you don't get any sort of head rush since we were down. In that forward fold for quite a while. And let's just bring our hands to our heart. Set our intention and energy for this practice. Let's just bring ourselves inward to be as gentle as possible on ourselves. Awesome. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Plant the palms on the shins. Exhale, hands down. Step the right foot back. Low lunge. So lower down that back knee for this low lunge. Inhale, rise up, low lunge. Really pulling that right hip forward. If you need to, you can walk that left foot forward a little bit and just really sink into this posture. Waking up the front of that right hip. Exhale, shift the hips back for a single leg split. So hinging at the hips, chest really pulled forward. Nice micro bend in that left leg. Think about flipping that tailbone or pulling that tailbone up towards the sky. Our hamstrings are connected to our pelvis. So when we kind of shift it a little bit with that idea, it really gets a nice stretch in the hamstrings. Awesome. Rebend in that front knee, and then step that right leg back to a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, root to rise, arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the palms, step the left foot back. Lower that back knee down to a nice low lunge. You can keep that back foot tucked or untucked, it's your choice. Inhale, rise to this low lunge. And then if you would like, you may walk that front foot forward. Really sink the hips down, keeping integrity in that belly button and spine connection. So we're just really sinking, opening up the front of the left hip before we shift our hips back for that single leg split. And then when you're ready, bring the hands down to the mat, shift the hips back, single leg split on this right side. Nice micro bend in the knee, thinking about flipping that tailbone up again to really open up the hamstrings. Chest pulled forward in order to think of this as hinging at the hips, not necessarily crunching in the spine. Awesome. Rebend in that front knee, plant the hands, and step back to downward dog. So do any sort of adjustments you might feel like you need to do in order to wake up and re-energize in this downward dog. Let's walk the hands back towards the feet a little bit, and we're going to take the left hand over to the right ankle for a nice twist, or downward dog with a twist. So our left hand is reaching for the right calf or ankle. Really waking up the spine and the back side of that right leg. Awesome. Gently release. Take it to the other side. So right hand grabs that left ankle or calf. Waking up the back of that left leg. Stretching out that right shoulder, just feeling this anywhere and everywhere, embracing how powerful and good it feels. Awesome. Bring that right hand back down to our downward dog. Inhale, generous bend in the knees, and take a couple of steps to the top of the mat again. Forward fold. Let's bring the right hand to the mat. Nice generous bend in the knees. Let's take the right hand, place it on the mat. Nice generous bend in the knees. As we reach up with the left hand, we're going to keep that right knee bent and straighten through the left leg. This is nice posture. If you want to have a block under that right hand, you totally can. Just staying nice and bent in that right leg. Straighten out the left as much as possible. Awesome. Gently bring that left hand down, rebend in both knees, plant the left hand, reach up with the right as you straighten through that right leg. Really waking up that right leg. Staying nice and strong. Exhale, gently bring that right hand down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. And then now we will slowly roll up like we did before, one vertebrae at a time. We don't want to have any rush come to our head since we were bent over for quite a while. Just get that blood flow slowly moving back up to the head. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Once you get to the top, exhale, palms to chest. And let's just step two. The right foot to the back of the mat. Turn both toes, so both feet are parallel to either edge of the mat. You can have your feet as wide or as far apart as you'd like for this wide leg forward fold. Sorry while I adjust my leggings. And we're going to think nice and tall up through the crown of the head, very similar to Tadasana. And then we're going to hinge at the hips. Pretend that there is like a door behind you and you're trying to open that door with your hips behind you. So hinging at the hips into this nice wide leg forward fold. If you want, you can leave your hands here, grab the elbows and kind of hang out, let gravity do the work. Or you may walk the hands kind of behind you to somewhat deepen this, just not pulling or cranking, just finding wherever you want to be that's nice and comfortable. A few rounds of breath here. Let's plant the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold a little bit deeper. So if you want to change the hand position, you can. I think I'm going to transition to this nice little elbow grab and just let gravity do the work here. Awesome. Plant those hands. Inhale, halfway lift and shift your hips over to the left. So let's take this left foot and kind of just put it at about 45 degrees as we shift the hips over to this left side. So staying nice and extended in the right leg, shifting the hips over to the left. And if you are able to have your hips lower to the ground and you don't need to have your heel lifted, that's totally okay. I have terrible hip mobility, which I've talked about before, but this is more about right now just really opening up the inside of this right leg. And then let's transition to the other side. So walk the hands, lift the hips up and over to this right side. So just however you feel like you can get into this. Like I said, I have long legs. I talk about it all the time. So if you need to walk that left foot out a little bit, that's totally okay. Staying nice and strong, getting a nice stretch in this left leg. Inside of left leg, hamstring. Awesome. Bring everything back to center, lifting those hips up in this halfway lifted forward fold with wide legs. Let's heel toe the feet back to about hip width. Drop the hips down, Malasana or garland. So just hanging out here, just for a nice round of breath. It's always nice when we are working on the hamstrings to work on the hips and low back a little bit because they are very interconnected. When one can be tight, we might show discrepancies in the others. Staying here, hanging out. And then let's gently release by bringing that booty to the ground and extend both legs out in front of us. For this wide leg, forward fold. Well, instead of doing the forward fold like we did when we were standing, we're going to shift to the side. So inhale, lift that left arm up and over as the right hand either comes to the shin or grabs the foot. Just coming over to one side. Get a nice stretch in the left side body and the right hamstring here. Just hanging out here for a few rounds of breath. Awesome. Let's gently rise back up to center, kind of resetting the spine, finding height once again. Reach down with that left hand, right arm goes up and overhead, and let's take it to the left side. Again, try and stay grounded in that right hip. Here for a few rounds of breath. Try not to hold any tension anywhere, just awareness. Keeping a little micro bend in that left knee. Awesome. Gently come back to center, resetting that spine, restacking those vertebrae, one on top of the other. Let's bring the legs in, and we'll just windshield wiper, kind of releasing the hips just a little bit. Awesome. Now let's come to lay on our back. Let's cross the right ankle over the left knee for this supine twist. So you can choose to grab either the back of the left, or not supine twist, my apologies, for this supine pigeon. So grab the back of the left thigh or the front of the left shin, and then just gently pull that left leg towards the chest to really get a nice stretch in that right hip. We just spent a lot of time abducting and externally rotating our femur and abducting in our hip. So it's nice to have kind of this internal rotation and a little bit of adduction. I always like to have nice counter poses to find balance, very similar. Go ahead and release and switch sides. Left ankle over the right thigh, pulling that right shin or thigh towards you. And back to my thought, sorry. I always like to have balance even within this practice as a whole. So I know I talked about it on the day that we did yin. So it's about balance in your practice as a whole on a day-to-day basis. So it doesn't always have to be about that power, vinyasa, flow type days. When you have nice grounded flows or a yin practice, it really balances out that high energy day. And within the practice itself, it's nice to have balance within the postures too. So when we open up the hips, it's nice to balance it out by have something that kind of closes them or does that opposite motion. Awesome. Gently release. Let's hug both knees into the chest. And then grab the feet for happy baby. Notice the difference. I know we did single leg happy baby at the beginning of this practice, but just kind of notice how much more open and like that tension or the connective tissue might be a little bit more released on this back end of our practice. If you want, you may straighten in the left leg or both. One last nice stretch in the hamstrings. Gently bring both feet down to the earth, legs outstretched. Let's reach our arms up and overhead. Squeeze and stretch everything. Exhale, bring the arms to our sides. Let's release, relax, and set up for Shavasana. So chin just ever so gently tucked. Nice long and lengthened in the back of the neck. Bring yourself, keep yourself reeled in. Bring yourself back to this calm, organic state of just your mind and your breath. Everything else is turned off. Start to wake everything back up. If you want to stay in Shavasana, you're more than welcome to. But for the rest of you, start to rock the head side to side. Roll to one side or the other. And we'll come up to seated. My apologies. I do need to adjust my mic. Got shifted a little bit. Come up to this nice seated posture. Tall up through the crown of the head. Still staying nice and proud. Hands at our heart, protecting us. Close the eyes. Pull yourselves in to be as present as possible this moment, this second of this day, day 24. In fact, let's put a smile on our face with the eyes closed. Feel how much that just changes your energy. It lightens you, empowers you, just with a small smile. So as you enter the rest of your day, keep this smile on your face. Keep it light, energy positive. And I will see you all for tomorrow's practice, day 25. We're going to do a fun little pocket practice. And please, 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 please hit the like button if you liked today's practice. And don't forget to subscribe. It should be popping up any second now. Or you can just go ahead and click the icon to subscribe to my channel, Kelly Hill Yoga. I appreciate all of your support, and I seriously am here for you. This is all about you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you.